you'll get the same.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're way so far beyond that with high pulsar laser, etc., and EMP. Even Jane's magazine for the military, which you can get, shows you all this weaponry that they can actually. A man with a little 2-foot wide radar type screen can wipe out a whole city if he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. You have a tremendous budget going into the the research of new weaponry and you won't even have to go black budget, so to speak, to actually pick up on this, and the amount of money that goes into this is tremendous, but again, as you say, we rarely see new technology being implemented in Iraq and so forth. There are a few reports of potential test weapons. I've heard a few about some kind of a raid down there, when things started. Very hard to confirm, obviously, but you never see it implemented. Why is that?
Because they don't want the public to know what they're going to do and what they have to do it with. If the public start rioting and go to traditional means to fight something, you probably wouldn't start rioting and go to attack anyone if you thought that you're using a catapult against EMP weaponry.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And pull it out at the right time. Jeez. But in the Gulf War I, the first Gulf War, it came out in the British newspapers because of all the thousands of stunned Iraqis who were just walking out the desert giving themselves up. They were really confused and stunned. It did come out in the British newspapers that the government admitted it had been using a HARP-type technology, electromagnetic pulse, and hitting them for 24 hours with it. It causes intense disorientation and confusion.
Yeah, exactly. You have all these type of crowd control systems. The what did they call it? The active denial system, I think. That actually microwaves a few millimeters just inside your skin, making it the sensation that the water molecules in your skin actually boils.
Yes.
Terrific. I mean, it's not terrific. It's terrorizing, weapons basically. The terror weapons basically.
They're terror weapons. They also have stuff published. I remember back in the 70s, where they had a white light type weapon, where one soldier could watch an advancing regiment coming towards them, and just like a little pen light, he could just sweep it across the field, and anyone looking directly at him was permanently blinded. Eyes completely destroyed.
Oh my. Huh. Yep, there you go. Yeah, exactly. They do have it, but as you say, they're waiting for it for this. This is about the implementation of something that is to come, down the road, when they actually might be bringing out a lot of this, this weaponry and this stuff. What do you think they are waiting for? Why don't they, take over?
What they're waiting for is to implement every stage that they have planned. And have it all ready. These guys don't miss a trick because it's a military strategy.
Yeah.
And you play the game piece by piece on the chessboard until it's all in order for them to do the final job and pull it off. They don't miss a single part of their agenda. They do it by the book, and they must herd the public along quietly as long as they can before they start creating the big chaos.
I know I've asked you this, a number of times before, but it's always interesting, in regards to timeline and stuff like that. I mean, many people, speculate that just in the years ahead we're actually going to see that the real, when this actually starts to play out on a more, I guess, physical, even violent level. I guess. Any ideas about it? Do you get a timeline on that?
Yeah, in that article put out by the Ministry of Defence, remembering that Britain's Military of Defence is completely integrated with every European country's Military of Defence department. It's all the same.
Yeah.
They said that 2010 was to be a big kicking year, a big start to a lot of this agenda, and then 2012 was another one. Now that fits exactly in with the integration of the Americas, which is to be completely done by 2010. And by 2012, the United Nations is to be announced to be the now acting global government.
2010?
2012 to the UN.
Oh, okay, yeah.
2010 for the amalgamation to be complete.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. Very, very interesting. Again, keeps coming up to 2012. All of that. I wanted to also ask you, because you mentioned the Gulf Wars and basically eradication of entire populations and so forth. Depleted uranium has been a hot topic too. Allegedly a lot of this is being used in the weaponry now down in Iraq. Do you know if this is true? If I were to ask you that.
I'm on two minds of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that they quote the artillery shells and some of the aircraft shells with this depleted uranium. It makes them incredibly hard, and they literally will melt through a tank.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they explode and turn to powdered dust. There were exposés on the CBC, the television in Canada, after the first Gulf War, interviewing troops who had been over there from the U.S., whose job it was to pick up all of the tanks that were disabled and pull them back in for repair or destruction or whatever. And all of these men, and they interviewed some of them, had their hair fell out.
Yeah.
Now these had been hit by these particular types of shells, so the white powder that was left behind was inside the tank and all around it and over it.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't think anything of it. They were handling them.
Mm-hmm.
Their teeth fell out. They definitely had all the symptoms of radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
And we'd also know that another factor involved is interesting. We had even female troops from Canada in Gulf War I. There was an expose here on television about one of them. Her hair fell out. The same thing happened with her teeth. Chronic fatigue, blood count went crazy.
Yeah.
She had all the symptoms again of radiation poisoning. We also know that some of the soldiers' offspring had the same symptoms that the soldiers developed, of these tremendous rashes all over their skin.
Yeah.
So a genetic thing had happened there, an alteration to get into the fetus, and there were even some of the men's wives were developing the same rashes and so on.
Huh.
But what another interesting thing to make it even more confusing, or else to give it another line of thinking, some of the soldiers who were not inoculated to go over, or were inoculated to go over there but didn't go, came down with a lot of these hyper immune system problems. So I think they're getting it from both angles, and it makes perfect sense, because American strategy after the Vietnam War, that they had Pentagon think tanks working on the problems of rioting ex-soldiers in the United States who were trained in the military and had the expertise, and they were worried of something happening, and they came up with ideas of how to disable future soldiers. So they could work 3 or 4 years in the military. Once they got out, they'd start to go decline with their health, and there wouldn't be a problem. So I think that's also part of it.
So they want the soldier for that short period of time that they actually can use them, and then as soon as they're into getting some kind of veterans pay or whatever, then obviously they're not interested in them anymore.
No more, and there's no threat to anyone because they become sick.
Oh my God!
They could never use their expertise from the military within their own country. If they were trying to, they couldn't even do it. So that also makes a strategic type of sense.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, again, I can't understand it at this point. I mean, who actually wants to volunteer for the military in that sense? I mean, obviously a lot of people's college payments are being done through the military and stuff like this. So obviously at this point is a way of income, I guess, for at least for American soldiers, as it were. But I mean, beyond that, I have no clue whatsoever. I guess it's again going back to some kind of patriotic feeling in these people that want to protect their country and do good or whatever. But I mean,
well, what you have is a science, because every military college knows this, the strategists know this. They know that if you want to bring in totalitarianism down the road, you must create a violent section of youth who are desensitized to violence. Well, that's what the video games were for.
Yeah.
Number two, you do split up the generational interaction between grandmother, parent, and child, and so there's no communication. Every tyrant in history knows this is a necessary thing, because children and young people still want to belong. It's very strong when you're at school. You want to belong and fit in.
Yeah, indeed.
A peer group.
Yeah.
And so they give you a substitute family and a peer group and give you a belonging that you've never even had at home anymore.
Absolutely.
Hitler knew this. Hitler knew this. Stalin knew it. They had the young communists in Russia. They had the Hitler Youth. It's the same technique. Now you've got this new phenomenon of, I call it the Bush Youth, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly, and the psychology in some of these military advertisements that are out there are just, they're really skilled at what they do. Let me just say that. I mean, I saw one commercial way back, and you saw, just about how much time they've, put down to actually get, every single blink, and even, the way they swallow when they, ask. Let me explain first that this was the advertisement was basically between a father and a son sitting down, and the father telling the son, how proud he was of him because he has, joined the military and that he has become more like a man, and that type of deal. So they obviously, play very much, as you say, on this aspect of the family, of making your father proud or whatever, and this, I mean, as you say, this is stuff that works because people have these drives and want to, of course, do good and all of this, and that is what they play at, I guess.
Yeah, they do, especially when you have a system today where parents are so busy they don't interact with the children.
There you go. Yeah. The
children are starved for attention. Along comes the society, like all military societies have always used. You belong with us.
Yeah.
We are your new brothers. It's a fraternity. You're special. They tell all the military of every country, you are special now. You're not a civilian.
Yeah.
So you have a class thing right away, a difference.
Yeah.
And then it's drilled into you that you are different, and these are your new brothers.
Yeah, indeed.
And that's what they crave. They crave belonging.
I want to return a little bit again to this case of depleted uranium, because if it is true that they are letting that stuff out there, down there, I should say, this obviously is something that spreads on a global level. They have been picking up, I know, reports from the British, a facility somewhere that actually measures they have been picking up on the radiation levels around Britain, and they speculated in an article about this that this was actually from down in the Iraq region. This is total suicide, as it were. If this is this could spread globally all over the place, and basically everything with DNA could potentially become genetically altered, basically. This is mass suicide. I mean, do you think that this is the end plan, the game of the game plan? Because I mean, my idea was kind of that. Okay, they want to eradicate a few, people in the population, or quite many of the population, and then live on this planet in luxury or whatever. But this is stuff that even would destroy themselves. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's why I'm a bit worried. Is it actually the depleted uranium, or is it the inoculations they've been getting? You see, you can also inoculate people, and chemicals too, and never mind certain viruses, can actually induce types of cancers. And just as effectively. That's an old thing used since World War II. They had the ability to do that within World War II.
Okay.
And I'm a bit wary if they're giving us a red herring with the depleted uranium exposure. Because, these people would never kill themselves off.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
But with inoculations, it's a beautiful way